welcome to News Live on Viewer Television. I am Ekioma Atong. The headlines. The National Assembly backs COVID-19 vaccination for public workers. Bandits kill 7 Russell livestock in Zamfara State. And bandits, the African Union suspends Sudan over military coup. Hello and welcome to News Live on Viewer Television. I am Ekioma Atong. We do sincerely apologize for the technical issues initially. The headlines. The National Assembly backs COVID-19 vaccination for public workers. And bandits kill 7 and Russell livestock in Zamfara community. Plus, the African Union suspends Sudan over military coup. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari says 12 million children in the country are traumatized and afraid of going to school due to the rate of abduction in the country. The president says this during the opening of the Safe School program in Abuja. Buhari, who was represented by his chief of staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, also said it had been tough dealing with security challenges in the country. He said the incessant attacks on the country's education system, such as kidnapping, abduction of pupils and students, increased the activities of insurgents and general insecurity in schools have exacerbated many factors responsible for the growing number of out-of-school children. The president, however, said that his administration will continue to make sure that schools were safe. Now, the Information and Culture Minister Alhaji Lai Mohammed said on Tuesday that media workers are going through a period that calls for the utmost caution in reporting on activities involved in Nigeria. Mohammed made the appeal during a forum to mark World Media and Information Literacy Week 2021 organized by UNESCO's regional office in Abuja. Represented by Buki Ponle, the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian News Agency, the minister declared that the media are a real instrument to promote the public good. Global Media and Information Literacy Week, commemorated each year from October 24th to 31st, is an opportunity to review and celebrate progress towards media and information literacy for all.
To know about their basic rights and how to use them. It is also a link between the government and the people, because all the policies and activities of government are conveyed through the media. Equally important, the media has given political parties the tool to reach large numbers of people and can inform them on key issues ranging from policies to election. Indeed, the media should be seen as an enabler for democracy, as having better educated voters will lead to a more legitimate government. In effect, the media is a veritable instrument to promote the public good.
The minister, who described the media as an enabler of democracy, urged practitioners to adhere to ethics of the profession.
There is, however, the dampener from our contemporary experience, which is manifested in the worrying incidents of fake news, disinformation, misinformation, and propaganda. With the advent of social media, fake news has blossomed. disinformation and propaganda have received new impetus. All these are used to alter, shape, and manipulate people to promote sectarian and political interests, attempt to entrench and exploit attitudes and conflicts, as well as to elevate divisive politics. In many instances, the media had exploited the fault lines of ethnicity and religion to undermine Nigeria's democracy and even threaten national security. Today, Nigeria is worse for it, especially in a country where gullibility is so high.
Qi Jianqun, ambassador of China to Nigeria, said on Tuesday that the country will prioritize the implementation of its political and economic cooperation with Nigeria to achieve growth. He stated this in Abuja while briefing newsmen on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the restoration of China's seat in the United Nations. The ambassador explained that the anniversary was in commemoration of the UN General Assembly's recognition of China's representatives and the expulsion of Chiang Kai-shek, the leader of Taiwan, from the organization on October 25, 1971. The ambassador added that China and Nigeria will continue to work collectively to realize their common goals in areas of currency unification and the Belt and Road Initiative to boost shared benefits.
Two of the 5Gs. One is political consonance, second, economic cooperation. I still think that you will remember that political consonance between two countries, economic cooperation, military cooperation, and international coordination. The last is people communication. So that 5 go, 5 say. So today I think that how can we implement two of the 5G? The first is about international coordination. The international coordination, just a very good example. So Nigeria supports China in the year 1971. We established diplomatic ties on February 10th in 1971. So it's something that really is very important. It's coincidence that two nations establish bilateral ties, diplomatic relations. After February 10th, in October, the Nigerian then government made a decision to support China, in favor of China, restore the lawful right of China in the UN system.
And now the National Assembly has expressed its support for the planned mandatory COVID-19 vaccine of public workers in the federal and state civil service. The chairman of the committee, Senate Committee on Primary Healthcare and Communicable Diseases, Chukwuka Utazi, told newsmen in an interview in Abuja that the directive had the full backing of the federal parliament. He said the nation's legislature will do everything possible to ensure that no Nigerian rejects vaccination. The senator said whoever must continue to enter government premises must be vaccinated so as not to endanger the lives of others. Now, still on the issue of COVID-19, the National Youth Service Corps has urged unvaccinated body members to be vaccinated against COVID-19 by December the 1st, as per the federal government directive. Brigadier General NYSC CEO Shuaibu Ibrahim made the roll call during the 2021 Group C full swearing-in ceremony at NYSC Orientation Camp Kubwa, Federal Capital Territory, on Tuesday. Ibrahim said compliance with the directive would prevent members of the body from being turned away from government establishments once it goes into effect. Ibrahim, who was represented by Abdul, the NYSC coordinator, urged members of the body to get vaccinated as the rules may apply to them as part of their main assignments. He assured that the program would continue to work with relevant stakeholders, including financial institutions, to enable them to realize their business dreams.
Of evidence of COVID-19 vaccination by civil servants, a prerequisite for gaining entry to public offices from 1st December 2021. I therefore encourage those of you who are yet to take the vaccine to do so without further delay, as the rule could apply to corps members in places of primary assignment. Of greater significance is the fact that the vaccine will keep you safe. We are already in touch with relevant authorities with a view to ensuring that the vaccines are made available to you in the course of this program. I would like to express our profound gratitude to the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 and the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, whose support and guidance is facilitating the safe and efficient conduct of the orientation course within the context of the new normal. I particularly appreciate the NCDC for the continuous provision of rapid diagnostic test kits and sensitization materials for usage in all orientation camps. Our appreciation also goes to other stakeholders, including the National Agency for the Control of AIDS and the T.Y. Anjuma Foundation, who both donated tens of thousands of rapid test kits to the scheme. In the same vein, I thank state ministries of health as well as federal and state tertiary health institutions for their support in the areas of COVID-19 prevention.
Now to politics. Ahead of the November 6th governorship election in Anambra State, the Nigerian Senate on Wednesday met with the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu. The meeting, which was held at the National Assembly Complex, Abuja, had in attendance the chairman of the Senate Committee on INEC, Senator Kabiru Gaya Yakubu, representatives of security agencies, members of National Assembly, as well as senior electoral officials. In his remarks, Senator Gaya decried the worsening insecurity in Anambra State, adding that the Senate needs strong assurances from the Commission of safety during and after the election. On his part, INEC Chairman Mahmood Yakubu said the Commission was committed to the November 6th election in spite of the scary security situation in Anambra State. Yakubu said INEC preparations for the election had been going on unhindered. Meanwhile, the federal government had vowed to deal decisively with anyone who attempts to disrupt the November 6, 2021 Anambra governorship election.
We are very much concerned with the insecurity situation in Anambra State, and that we cannot afford not to hold the election on the 6th. Therefore, as a committee on electoral matters and INEC, we decided to invite INEC and all the security chiefs to brief us how prepared they are for the election. It is really democratic, and it's undemocratic if you cannot hold election in that state. Therefore, there is really a need, and it's very essential that INEC must be prepared to hold election with the support of all the security agencies in the country. And I just hope and pray that all efforts should be put on table to make sure that this election is hitch-free, fair, credible, and transparent.
INEC is ready for the Anambra governorship election in the next 10 days. That is on Saturday, 6 November 2021. When we release the timetable for the election on the 19th of January this year, we identified 14 activities that had to be accomplished leading to the election, from the publication of notice to election day. And as of today, we have successfully accomplished 12 out of the 14 activities on schedule. The only outstanding activities are the last day of campaign by political parties, which is going to be in the next 8 days, 24 hours to the election, that is Thursday, 4th November 2021, and the election day proper on the 6th of November. We have recovered from the series of attacks on our facilities, and I'm happy to say that we have deployed all the non-sensitive materials, not only to Oka, but to all the 21 local government areas. We have trained the requisite number of ad hoc staff for the election. And we have also mobilized the transport owners for electoral logistics. As far as INEC is concerned, we are good to go on the 6th of November 2021.
And now the federal government has assured members of the House Representatives of its resolve to ensure adequate funding of major federal roads, including Gombe-Biu in Borno State and other economic viable roads across the country. The Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, Engineer Hassan Musa, gave the assurance on Tuesday in Abuja while addressing Chairman, House Committee on Appropriations, Mukhtar Betara, who was accompanied by other members of the committee while on working visits to the ministry's headquarters. He says the ministry has secured new funding for the Gombe-Biu Federal Road, while assuring the National Assembly's delegation that the Gombe-Biu Road will be approved by the Federal Executive Council alongside other selected federal roads across the country. In his remarks, Chairman, House Committee on Appropriations, Mukhtar Betara, who led a delegation to the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing headquarters, underscored the need to provide alternative funding of the Gombe-Biu Federal Road in Borno State. Betara, who expressed grave concerns over the state of the Gombe-Biu Federal Road despite appropriation of budgetary allocation to the project on yearly basis, however, noted that the funds were insufficient.
We have seen the dilapidated condition of the road and also the difficulties the people around the area, around Zuri area, are facing because of the condition of the road. But obviously we're waiting for the rains to abate, and hopefully, alhamdulillah, the rains have abated now. We intend to engage all our contractors and get them to go back to site and to work seriously, more so that we now have a sustainable funding window which will give them the opportunity to be paid immediately their works are certified.
Gombe Road the contract has been awarded, I think, 5-6 years ago, and the contractor is very slow in doing the work. At any time we had a discussion with him, his own problem is funding. So funding issues for that kind of road cannot come through the budget. Though I'm the chairman of appropriation, but I have limits to how much I can put on a road in my constituency. So I decided to come and see the Permanent Secretary and the Honorable Minister to plead. And I'm happy today. He has informed me that there's a window for the funding of Gombe Road project on ground. So they are going to have meetings with the contractor, I think, by next week, after the approval of the Federal Executive Council.
And now the House of Representatives is poised to reform the Bureau of Public Enterprises to make it more efficient at the management of public assets for the purpose of generating revenue for the country. This process began in Abuja on Monday during a public hearing to allow major stakeholders, including MDAs, to submit proposals that will strengthen the operations of the BPE, the report.
The policy of privatization and commercialization drive in the federal government over the years has been dogged with numerous setbacks despite good intentions of government. This is why the House of Representatives is now proposing a more potent bill to replace the existing one from improved efficiency and management of the nation's public assets. Chairman of the committee, as well as the Speaker, explained the rationale behind strengthening the bill of privatization and commercialization, which amongst others will help cushion the 2022 budget deficit of $1.3 trillion.
When we have laws to make, the assumption is that we are not as perfect as maybe others think. No member of the House of Representatives, even the Speaker, assumes monopoly of knowledge. We don't assume that I was elected 7 times from my constituency right from 1992 because I'm the most intelligent person in Tudunwadawaduga constituency. No. It was just the will of God, perhaps coincidental. So the idea is that we would like to engage members of the public, engage officials of government, so that we can quietly, through legislative process, tap and benefit from your respective intelligence and experiences. so that at the end, when we are coming up with legislation and laws, we come with the finest set of laws that will benefit our people, and laws that can even compete with other legislation outside Nigeria.
We know that other countries have used and are using PPPs to deliver key infrastructure like roads, ports, railways, airports, etc., without adding burdens on their national treasury. We want to do the same, but more efficient.
Minister of Works and Housing, Babajide Fashola, said privatization in the country is now working, a position also supported by the Director General BPE. They called for a general audit of all privatized or concession enterprises, backed by the right legislature, cautioning also that government should be circumspect with assets they put up for privatization, as many investors lack the capacity to deliver.
We're suggesting that in Section 6, subsection 3, where it is provided that not less than 1% of shares to be offered for sale to Nigerians shall be reserved for the staff of the public assets to be privatized, and the shares shall be held in trust. Our suggestion is that the percentage of reserved shares for staff should be a ceiling on the maximum number of shares. In other words, instead of saying not less than 1%, you may wish to consider and say not more than X percent should be made available to the staff. That's a suggestion we think we should make before you.
For Labour, the privatization policy of the federal government has failed. The board's assets from bill has passed both first and second reading in the House of Representatives. Jai Malik, reporting for Viewer Television.
The Nigerian High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Safara Tunji Ishola, has written to London-based magazine The Economist over its recent publication blaming the current government for the security and economic situation over the country. Newsman recalls that The Economist had few days ago knocked the Nigerian army, accusing it of selling equipment to the insurgents terrorizing Nigeria, while describing the army as only strong on paper. The magazine also described President Buhari-led administration as an inept and high-handed government that had also failed to tackle corruption. In a letter written to The Economist in response to a piece titled "Insurgency, Secessionism and Banditry Threaten Nigeria," the High Commissioner said the medium was selective in its research, saying that the issues confronting Nigeria have been long-standing and the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is achieving tremendous results in tackling them. He reminded the organization that President Buhari had been elected twice in national elections and was indeed making progress by working with international partners. Now, the House of Representatives Committee on Science and Technology and Innovation is seeking ways of advancing the cause of fighting cybercrimes and other criminalities in the country. Two bills were considered in the process of advancing this cause, which are a bill for an act to establish Chartered Institute of Computer and Forensic Institute of Nigeria, and a bill for an act to establish the National Institute of Oil and Gas Technology of Nigeria. The report.
Long-lasting changes. There are also both establishment bills that will impose significant and long-standing financial obligations on the public purse. For that reason alone, if nothing else, they deserve our thorough appraisal. However, in addition, the bill to establish the Chartered Institute of Computer Forensics seeks, amongst other things, to improve our criminal justice system to reflect the realities of this new age.
This one is now going to draw a kobo
from the coffers of the federal government of Nigeria. This bill is not going to add weight to the already, heavy wage bill that we are going through in this country. It's going to generate funds on its own for its own activities. So no fears, our guests, don't be afraid that the House of Reps or the National Assembly is going to bring you more weight to the coffers of the federal government. No, it is a bill that is it is an establishment that is going to take care of itself, generate funds to take care of its own activities.
Today, we have more of artisans from Benin Republic and all the rest. They'll come here, they go back with our money. And at the end of the day, we patronize them more, believing that they have more skills than our own people. But if we gather these artisans with whatever certificate they have in their WAEC, if we gather them together and give them certificates, OND certificate or thereabout, they will possess more qualification than those guys from Benin Republic, or even some of the expatriates they bring for us in Shell, Ajib, and all these are oil companies. This is the more reason why we say that the best thing we can do is to gather these our own young people. Instead of constituting nuisance in the society, let's gather them together, form them into, or train them properly and give them certificates so they can have this basic knowledge and participate in the oil and gas sector. Because this is the only way to the GDP of this country can grow.
In 2021, the Office of the National Security Advisor invited the Institute through the President to deliver a presentation on development of digital forensics capacity and provision of regulatory oversight functions. Okay, so just Google on computer forensics in Nigeria, you will see who we are. Hence, Professor Olayiwola passionately concludes and recommends that the sixth form bill should be speedily considered as fundamental to the national security, equity, and justice in the administration of criminal justice in Nigeria.
When NEWSLIVE returns, the House of Representatives has charged the National Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS, to provide the sum of 3 million naira that was not utilized in the 144 million naira budgetary allocation for the agency in 2020. Details of this and more comes to you shortly after the break. Just stay tuned.
Feel the spirit, feel the rhythm. It is a moment for worship and praise, a time to connect with the Lord. Right here on Gospel Light, I bring to your home screens everything the gospel, from musical countdowns to having your favorite gospel artist right here on the program, and as well reporting any gospel event around your area.
You are the source of my strength. You are the strength of my life. All power belongs to you.
Well, I feel blessed and privileged.
Enquiries for sponsorship for advertisement, do contact us on our email at gospellight.ng@gmail.com. You can as well follow us on our social media platform on Instagram at gospellight.ng, and you can also contact us on 081-3216-1451. Do remain blessed.
You're welcome back, and if you're just joining us, this is News Live on Viewer Television. A quick recap of our top stories. The National Assembly backs COVID-19 vaccination for public workers. And bandits killed 7 and rustle livestock in Zamfara community. Plus the African Union suspends Sudan over military coup. The House of Representatives has charged the National Health Insurance Scheme to provide the sum of 3 million naira that was not utilized in the 144 million budgetary allocation for the agency in 2020. Chairman, House Committee on Health Services, Tanko Sununu, gave the directive on Wednesday in Abuja during a budget defense session with NHIS. Executive Secretary, NHIS, Professor Mohammed Sambo, who appeared before the committee, explained that out of the 144 million that was released for 2020 budget, over 140 million were not utilized. Professor Sambo also said for 2021, out of over 740 million naira appropriated, for over 400 million naira have been utilized. Members of the committee, while questioning the agency on its expenditure for 2020, discovered that 3 million naira was not utilized of the amount released. Meanwhile, the NHIS has disclosed that Nigerians who are not in the government or private sector payroll can now benefit from the National Health Insurance Scheme through a new package called Gift Ship. Speaking with newsmen shortly after the budget defense of the agency, Executive Secretary of NHIS, Professor Mohammed Sambo, explained that Gift Ship is a platform that can bring in individuals, families, people from various groups, people from diaspora. It can facilitate philanthropists to come and get premium on behalf of people in the communities. According to him, the program is also tagged as the constituency project, where members of the National Assembly can put some funds in the National Health Insurance Scheme. They can do it to cover patients in their own communities.
Yeah, the most important is we must understand what is the principle of health insurance scheme. It is a pool of money they are generating so that everyone will be his brother's keepers. He has just mentioned that philanthropists, well-to-do individuals can contribute money to that pool. And one good thing that why we endorse it is that you have the right to describe the particular groups of individuals you want. And for those of us that we've just started last year, those of us that engage, especially if you go to my constituency, When I engage myself, I target it to those who are 60 and above because they represent, I don't say that others don't need it, but they are special group that deserve to be catered for. If you go to other countries, you see a lot of houses, aged home, but that's not the practice in the country. Then we should have a group of people that can now take care of them. You can also say you want to go for only the blind people. You can only say you want to also go for only farmers. So you have the right to choose which group you are going to. And also why we endorse it again is that you are free to go to NHIS to ask why your people are dissatisfied with their services. And it will be tracked along the line, and area of dissatisfaction will be detected and correction done.
This is a platform, we will call it a master stroke, that will bring about a total coverage of the of Nigerian population. If you are a philanthropist, you can pay like 15 million naira and cover 1,000 people. If you pay 30 million naira, you can cover up to 2,000 people in your constituency. I think in the gamut of programs that are people oriented, hardly if you can see anyone that is akin to this gift program, because health is one of the major challenges in every community, and if you are able to take care of the healthcare challenges of the people, you have really put them in the path of sustainable growth and development.
Vice President Yemi Osibajo and hundreds of Christians drawn from various parts of the country are expected to attend the annual Christians Legislature Fellowship National Breakfast Prayer Meeting scheduled for Thursday, 29th October 2021. The prayer session with the theme Faith in Christ in Time of Crisis will take place at the Senate Conference Room, National Assembly Complex in Abuja. The CLF President, Senator Emmanuel Bechwa, who spoke during the media chat, disclosed that Bishop David Abioye of the Living Faith Chapel will be the guest speaker, adding that the topic was chosen to deliberately answer the challenges of the time that we are all aware of, from different spheres of our lives, economy, political, social, and many. While responding to questions on the leadership crisis and complacencies by Christian legislatures at both national and state levels, Senator Bachwa said the fellowship is non-partisan, stressing that its mandate is intercessory. The Nigerian Association of the Blind Abuja chapter has sought employment of its members in government ministries and agencies as stipulated in the People Living with Disability Act. Kasim Lawal, Secretary General of the NAB, made the request while leading other executive members of the association to the Federal Character Commission headquarters in Abuja. Lawal said many NAB members had resorted to begging on the streets due to hardship. The association deemed it necessary to bring their plight to the commission to act. Chairman of the FCC, Dr. Muhiba Dankaka, said the visit by the NAB was a special courtesy visit among every other visit since she took over the office of the commission as chairman.
The essence of our visit here today is to meet with the chairman and management team and to see how we can rub minds on possible areas of intervention that have to do with how the welfare and well-being of the blind and other persons with disabilities can be improved. In line with that, and as well as the Disability Rights Act, which stipulates for 5% allocation for persons with disabilities, 5% allocation of employment, we deemed it fit that we should meet with the Commission for in the interest of our members. We have come here today to see how the Commission can better enforce this particular provision of the Act, and that's why we are here today.
The Commission is aware that 5% of total workforce
in federal establishment has been approved for people with disability by Mr. President, and the Commission is not relenting in enforcing its implementation, gender and people with disability. Committee headed by Deputy Director will report directly to me for the implementation of the 5% recruitment allocation among the MDs. It was a wise decision for the blind and partially sighted persons resident in FCT and its environment to come together in 2007 and launch an association for the purpose of promoting the well-being and welfare of the blind and virtually impaired individuals, with the sphere of its influence through advocacy, capacity building, and partnership with the governmental and non-governmental organizations. I assure you that all the issues raised today by yourself, as your association, will receive positive attention.
The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control says preparations have been concluded to start massive surveillance on drug hawkers in Kaduna State. Kaduna State Coordinator of the agency, Nasiru Mato, disclosed this in an interview with newsmen on Wednesday in Kaduna. Mato said that drug hawking is of major concern to NAFDAC and the state. He said that the complete ban of drug hawking is still in force and all medicines must be kept at the appropriate temperature as prescribed by the manufacturer to achieve the desired efficacy, potency, and safety. 1 year after Nigeria was certified polio-free by the World Health Organization, the country is back on the map as Adamawa State has confirmed 4 new cases. Executive Chairman Adamawa State Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Suleiman Bashir, has announced 4 new cases of circulating vaccine-derived polio virus. Bashir said though Nigeria was certified a wild polio-free nation on August 25, 2020, the state recently recorded 4 new cases. According to him, although 99% of polio has been wiped out of the oral polio vaccine, in rare cases when enough children are not reached, other forms of virus will continue to circulate. Bashir assured that his agency will continue to partner with stakeholders at all levels to ensure the vaccination of every child in the state.
Although 99% of the polio has been wiped out with the oral polio vaccine, in rare cases, when not enough children are reached, that means the vaccination coverage is very, very low, other forms of the virus continue to circulate. This is exactly the case of the circulating vaccine-derived polio virus that we have mentioned today. And I certainly want to repeat that we've had 4 cases, 1 in Gombe, but they were picked from Yola, and 3 in Yola North, then 3 from Yola South. Gentlemen of the press, distinguished personalities, to overcome this challenge, as mentioned earlier by one of our partners, we've had 2 rounds of the polio vaccination campaign following the declaration of outbreak of CVGBV 2, and we've had the NOPV, that's the novel vaccine, and we are planning to have a National Immunization Plus Day on Saturday, 30th October to the 2nd of November. This is in continuation of this exercise of providing the needed response and to end the circulation of all forms of polio virus.
Bandits have again invaded Yambuki village in Zurmi local government area of Zamfara state, where they killed 7 people and carted away over 1,500 cows and sheep. An indigene of the village, Garba Musa, who narrated the ordeal to newsmen in Guzo town, said the bandits, who were in large number, arrived in the village yesterday night and began shooting at everybody they saw in order to scare the people. He maintained that the bandits left the village. It was discovered that 7 people were shot dead while several others sustained serious injuries. The spokesperson of the State Police Command, Mohammed Shehu, who confirmed this to journalists, said the Commissioner of Police has already deployed enough police personnel to the area in order to restore peace. You're still watching NEWSLIVE on Viewer Television. We now bring you international and sports news right after the break. Do join us again.
And on the international scene, I am Jennifer Okolo. As the world watched the Taliban wage a stunning offensive that ended in the rapid collapse of the country's Western-backed government, a longer-term crisis was building. In desperate attempts to feed their families, herders have been forced to sell their livestock, farmers to flee their villages, and parents marrying their daughters at ever younger ages. Communities cling to life in small clusters of mud brick homes among an endless ocean of rolling brown hills in this corner of Badghis province, where 90% of the 600,000 strong population live off livestock or fields, according to humanitarian agency ACTED. When the first of two recent droughts hit in 2018, he had 300 sheep, but as the latest dry spell bites, he is down to 20. On Monday, United Nations agencies said more than 22 million Afghans will suffer acute food insecurity this winter, warning the unstable country faces one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. Age-dependent Afghanistan, which has spent decades trapped in cycles of war, has borne the sixth hardest blow from climate change driven from greenhouse emissions such as carbon dioxide, according to a study by environmental group German Watch. As predicted, one of the devastating effects has been a drop in rainfall in northern Afghanistan. Well, Brazilian senators have voted to recommend charging President Jair Bolsonaro over his handling of the devastating COVID pandemic. A Senate panel backs a report calling for charges against Bolsonaro, including crimes against humanity after 600,000 deaths from coronavirus. The findings will be sent to the chief prosecutor, a Bolsonaro appointee. The president has maintained he is guilty of absolutely nothing, but the crisis has dented his popularity. Brazil's death toll is second only to that of the United States. There is no guarantee this vote will lead to actual criminal charges, as the report's recommendations must now be accessed by Prosecutor General Augusto Aras, who is expected to protect the president. The report alleges that Bolsonaro's government pursued a policy of allowing coronavirus to rip through the country in the hope of achieving herd immunity. It described the president as the main person responsible for the errors committed by the federal government during the pandemic. Well, indigenous Ecuadorians had said they will protest for a second day over soaring fuel prices as the country grapples with a state of emergency and an ailing economy. Nationwide protests, the largest in the 5 months of conservative President Guillermo Lasso's administration, were fueled by a 12% increase in fuel prices. At least 37 arrests have been made and 5 police officers wounded in the unrest. Authorities said 2 soldiers who were captured by protesters in an Andean village were in good health. Meanwhile, the African Union says it had suspended Sudan until civil rule in the country is restored, saying it rejected the military takeover as an unconstitutional seizure of power. The continent's wide bloc said it strongly condemns the seizure of power and was suspending Sudan from all AU activities until the effective restoration of the civilian-led transitional authority. Attorney General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan on Monday ordered the dissolution of the government and declared a state of emergency, sparking widespread international condemnation. Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok was placed under military arrest along with his ministers and civilian members of Sudan's ruling council, sparking angry protests on the streets on Khartoum. Hamdok was later released under close guard, while other ministers and civilian leaders remain in detention. A number of Western powers have been called for an urgent meeting with Hamdok, saying they will still recognize the Prime Minister and his cabinet as the constitutional leaders of Sudan. Also, Sudanese pro-civilian rule protesters piled up bricks and rocks to block streets in the capital Khartoum as demonstrations against the military coup entered their third day. Sudanese security forces launched sweeping arrests of anti-coup protesters today in a bid to end 3 days of demonstrations against the military takeover that has sparked widespread international condemnation, and forces deployed large numbers after overnight protesters saw clashes in the capital Khartoum, with officers firing tear gas and arresting several leading pro-democracy activists, including from Sudan's largest political party, the Ummah Party. Since top General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan on Monday ordered the dissolution of the government and declared a state of emergency, thousands of citizens have maintained protests chanting "No to military rule." Shops have remained closed following calls for a campaign of civil disobedience as pro-democracy movements ratchet up calls for million-strong protests on Saturday. And that's the much we can take. Thanks for watching.
And on sports, now World Football Governing Body FIFA has banned Remy Amadi, coach of Kofin FC, from all football-related activities for 2 years. FIFA Disciplinary Committee conveyed this decision to the Nigerian Football Federation and its consequences of a similar ban imposed on the coach by the NFF Disciplinary Committee at its meeting of August 16, 2021. The NFF Integrity Unit forwarded the said decision of the NFF Disciplinary Committee and all the relevant documentations to the FIFA Disciplinary Committee via a letter dated August 25, 2021, requesting the committee to extend the sanction to have a worldwide effect in accordance with Article 66 FIFA Disciplinary Code. The worldwide effect was activated by the FIFA Disciplinary Committee at its meeting of October 5, 2021. Amadi is the third Nigerian to fall under FIFA's hammer for alleged corruption, following earlier sanction on Super Eagles assistant coach Salisu Yusuf and team's former head coach Samson Siasia. Now, also, the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sport Development has ordered the immediate dissolution of the Nigerian Basketball Federation Caretaker Committee, headed by Musa Kida, ahead of the Federation election. In a letter addressed to Musa Kida and Florence Adeyanju, member Caretaker Committee, NBFF, the Sports Ministry thanked the duo for their contribution to the development of basketball in the country. According to the report, the dissolution of the committee comes barely 24 hours after a press release signed by its permanent secretary, Ismaila Abubakar, had directed the indefinite suspension of the NBFF elective congress earlier scheduled for Saturday in Benin. However, Kida reacted by urging stakeholders to ignore what he referred to as an unsigned press statement credited to the permanent secretary of the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sport Development, indefinitely postponing the NBFF election. And lastly, Bayern Munich defender Lucas Hernandez will not be going to a Spanish jail for violating a restraining order in 2017 after a Madrid court on Wednesday accepted the appeal by the French player. A Madrid court last week gave the 25-year-old until October 28 to voluntarily enter prison unless his appeal against the order was accepted. According to the statement released by the courts in Madrid, the appeal should be upheld and the order to enter prison suspended. Recall the Hernandez, a World Cup winner with France in 2018, was arrested 4 years ago in Spain for violating a court order banning him from contacting his partner after a violent altercation between the pair. He and his partner, Amelia Lorente, were both convicted for domestic violence in February 2017. And that's all on sports. Over to the main news desk. Thank you for watching.
And that's all on News Live. But before we go, a quick recap of the headlines. We brought you news that the National Assembly backs the COVID-19 vaccination for public workers. And we also informed you the bandits killed 7 and rustle livestock in Zamfara community. Plus, the African Union suspends Sudan over military coup. Many thanks for watching. Bye for now.